The idea that I want to present today to try and help us to focus our thinking over the next 2 days is a very simple idea that men have balls. And you would be surprised to know that that is not a very popular idea. At least it's not popular in the way we develop programs and projects that are targeted at men. Very often people who design programs and projects for men forget that men have balls, and balls really affect our thinking, attitude, and outlook to life. People may be assuming that I'm talking about, delicate parts of the male anatomy. And I could be talking about that. The testosterone produced in that part of our anatomy does give the male gender determining characteristics. But I'm not trying to give you a biology lesson. I'm trying to make the point that men often galvanize their thinking around the balls. Here's a good example. If you were in South Africa during the World Cup, there was one ball in the middle there. There were about 22 men in uniform, another 6 in some strange uniforms, and then there were over 30, 40, 50,000 based on which stadium they were in, men engaged in following this one ball. You can actually define sometimes, if you want, the male psyche, the male approach to life through balls. Men often are visited upon by programs and projects that don't identify with that essential male characteristic. People complain about why men fail to show up. Some of us here work in churches, and the weakest ministry in any church has to be the men's ministry. And I thought that that was a church thing until a very prominent Muslim official in this country waylaid me about 3 months ago. She said, "I hear you go to church." I said, "Yes, I go to church." She said, "Well, look, I'm a Muslim and we have a problem. I wonder if you church people could help us." I said, "What's the problem? We church people are always willing to help Muslims. What's your problem?" She said, "We can't get the young men to come to the mosque." I said, "Well, I'm sorry. There are a lot of problems that we church people could help you with, but that's one we haven't really identified a solution for yet." But when you think about it, one of the things that characterize most men's programs that I've been invited to in my life is an absence of balls. They're often organized men the same way they've organized women, and what the men are invited to is a version of a women's program that only has men in it. There's just no balls there, and if you take the balls away, then what do we guys have left? It is a fact that men and women are different. And balls make the difference. If you don't believe me that men and women are different, let me just use 2 quotes from people who are working in the health services. The first one says, "Although gender-based medicine and healthcare is receiving increasing attention among health professionals, most of this attention is focused on women's health concerns. The gender-specific healthcare needs of men and boys have only very recently begun to be examined." They go on to say that in addition to having different reproductive health needs, women and men have different risks for specific diseases and disabilities, and they differ in their perceptions of health. In other words, men are different. Men have balls. We have to really begin to focus on the differences, and don't make these differences something that's superficial, but something that's fundamental to our way of thinking.